Is this some kind of joke? Officer Derek Walsh's voice was sharp with frustration as he stood beside the overturned pickup truck on Interstate 95. The accident had happened 15 minutes ago, a violent rollover that had sent the vehicle careening across 3 lanes before coming to rest against the median barrier. The driver, a young man in his late 20s, had crawled out of the wreckage physically unharmed, but mentally somewhere else entirely. He was sitting on the shoulder now, his back against the guardrail, rocking back and forth, hands covering his ears, eyes squeezed shut. Walsh had tried to approach him twice. Both times, the young man had screamed at him to stay back, his voice raw with panic. The EMTs had tried. Same result. Traffic was backing up for miles, and they had a psychological emergency that nobody seemed equipped to handle. "Sir, we need to get you checked out," Walsh called from 10 feet away, his hand resting on his radio. "We're trying to help you." "Don't come closer," the young man shouted, his voice cracking. "I can hear them! The rounds! They're still coming in!" Walsh exchanged a glance with the senior EMT, Maria Santos. She shook her head. "He's having a full-blown episode. PTSD, looks like. We need psych services, but they're 40 minutes out in this traffic." An older pickup truck pulled onto the shoulder about 50 yards back from the accident scene. An elderly black man stepped out, wearing simple dark slacks and a button-down shirt. He was maybe 65, with graying hair and a calm, unhurried way of moving. He walked toward the flashing lights, his hands visible, non-threatening. Walsh immediately held up a hand. "Sir, you need to stay back. This is an active emergency scene." The man stopped but didn't retreat. "I'm Pastor Marcus Coleman from Grace Community Church about 2 miles back. I saw the accident. Thought I might be able to help." Walsh's frustration boiled over. "With all due respect, Pastor, we don't need prayers right now. We need professional medical intervention. Please return to your vehicle." Marcus looked past the officer at the young man on the shoulder. He could see the signs immediately. The rocking, the 1,000-yard stare, the hands pressed over ears trying to block out sounds that weren't there. He'd seen it before, many times. "Officer, that young man isn't hearing this world right now. He's hearing something else, something from before." Walsh's jaw tightened. "I'm aware he's having a psychological episode, sir, which is why I need you to step back and let us handle this." "How long has he been like this?" 15 minutes, and it's getting worse. Now please." "What's his name?" Maria Santos, the EMT, spoke up. "According to his license, Jason Mitchell, age 27. Marcus nodded slowly. Something in his demeanor made Santos pause. There was a quality to the old pastor that didn't match his humble appearance, a kind of calm authority that seemed at odds with the chaos around him. "Officer Walsh," Marcus said quietly, "I understand you have protocols, but I've dealt with this exact situation before. If you let me try, I might be able to reach him." "You're a pastor, not a psychologist." "I'm a pastor now," Marcus corrected gently. "But I was a Navy chaplain for 12 years, 3 deployments, Iraq, Afghanistan. I've talked down more traumatized Marines than I can count. This young man needs someone who understands where his mind is right now." Walsh hesitated. The backup he'd called for was still 30 minutes out. Traffic was a nightmare, and this old pastor had something in his eyes, a kind of knowing that made Walsh reconsider. "You've got 5 minutes," Walsh said finally. "But if it escalates, you step back immediately." Marcus nodded and began walking slowly toward Jason Mitchell. His hands were visible, his posture non-threatening. He moved with the practiced calm of someone who'd walked into dangerous situations many times before. "Jason," Marcus called out, his voice steady and clear. "My name is Marcus. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm not here to take you anywhere. I'm just here to sit with you if that's okay." Jason's eyes snapped open. They were wild, unfocused. "Stay back! They're still firing! We need to get to cover!" Marcus stopped about 8 feet away and slowly lowered himself to sit on the ground, cross-legged. It was a deliberate move, making himself smaller, less threatening, meeting Jason at his level. "Jason, I hear you," You're under fire. I understand that. But I'm going to sit right here with you. I'm not going anywhere. You don't understand. They're everywhere. We need to move. Marcus's voice remained calm, almost gentle. Jason, look at me. Really look at me. What do you see? Jason's eyes flickered toward Marcus, still filled with panic, but showing a tiny spark of recognition that someone was actually listening. Marcus met Jason's gaze and held it. You see an old man sitting on the side of a highway. That's what's real right now, Jason. This highway, this moment. You're not there anymore. You're here. You made it home. Jason's rocking slowed slightly. His breathing was still rapid, but something in Marcus's tone was cutting through the panic. I can still hear the mortars, Jason whispered, his voice breaking. They keep coming. I can't make them stop. I know, Marcus said softly. I've heard them too. Different war, same sounds. They don't go away easy. But Jason, you survived them. You're still here. That means you won. Officer Walsh watched from a distance, his hands still on his radio but his posture less tense. Maria Santos stood beside him, her medical bag ready, but her attention fixed on the old pastor who was doing something their training had never covered. What branch? Marcus asked, keeping his voice conversational, grounding. Marine Corps, Jason managed. 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, Sangin, 2011. Marcus nodded slowly. Sangin, one of the bloodiest postings in Afghanistan. If Jason had been there, he'd seen hell. Infantry? Riflemen. My squad. We hit an IED. I was on point. I should have seen it. Should have. You did your job, Jason. You walked that line knowing what could happen. That takes more courage than most people will ever understand. Jason's hands lowered slightly from his ears. His eyes were still haunted, but they were focusing more on Marcus now, less on whatever battlefield his mind had transported him to. Who are you? Jason asked, confusion mixing with his panic. I'm Marcus Coleman. I was a chaplain with the Navy, attached to Marine units in Iraq. I wasn't infantry, but I walked those same streets. I've sat in those same vehicles. I've heard those same sounds. Jason stared at him. You were over there? 3 tours. Fallujah, Ramadi, Al-Anbar province. I buried friends, Jason. Good men. Marines who didn't make it home. But you did. You're here. That matters. I can't get it out of my head. The explosion. The screaming. Martinez was right next to me. He didn't make it. Why did I make it? Why am I still here? Marcus slowly moved closer, closing the distance to about 3 feet. Jason didn't flinch this time. I don't have an answer for why you survived and he didn't, Jason. Nobody does. But I can tell you this. Martinez would want you to live. Not just survive, but actually live. Honor his memory by being here, by fighting through this. Jason's shoulders began to shake. The panic was transforming into something else. Grief, guilt, the crushing weight of survivor's remorse that Marcus had seen destroy so many good men. I don't know how, Jason whispered. I don't know how to keep going. You don't have to know how. You just have to keep breathing. One breath at a time, one day at a time. And when it gets bad like this, you reach out. You let someone sit with you. You don't have to carry it alone. Marcus reached into his pocket slowly and pulled out a small card. It was worn, the edges soft from years of handling. He held it out to Jason. This is my number. Grace Community Church. I'm there every day. You call me anytime. 3 in the morning, middle of the day, doesn't matter. You call, and I'll answer. That's a promise. Jason took the card with trembling hands. His breathing was slower now, more controlled. The terror in his eyes had dimmed to exhaustion. Why are you helping me? You don't even know me. Marcus smiled gently. Because someone helped me once when I was exactly where you are right now. Sitting on the ground, trying to figure out how to keep existing when everything felt impossible. A Marine sergeant sat with me for 4 hours in the middle of a firebase until I could breathe again. I'm just passing it forward. Officer Walsh approached cautiously. Mr. Mitchell, are you able to let the paramedics check you out now? Jason looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. Let them make sure you're physically okay. I'll stay right here if you want. Please, Jason said quietly. Maria Santos and her partner moved in with their equipment. As they began their examination, Walsh pulled Marcus aside. I've never seen anything like that. How did you know what to say? Marcus looked at the young officer. Because I've been on both sides of that conversation. I've been the one having the breakdown, and I've been the one talking someone else through it. When you've lived through war, you recognize the signs. You know the language. Walsh studied the old pastor with new respect. You said you were a chaplain. What else did you do over there? Before Marcus could answer, a state trooper who'd been directing traffic walked over. He was older, maybe 50, with the weathered look of someone who'd seen difficult situations. Officer Walsh, I couldn't help but overhear. Did you say your name is Marcus Coleman? Marcus turned. Yes, sir. The trooper's expression changed entirely. Pastor Coleman? Navy chaplain? Iraq, 2006? Marcus nodded slowly. That's right. The trooper extended his hand. Sergeant Tom Mitchell, retired Marine Corps. I wasn't there that day, but every Marine who served in Al Anbar knows your story. You're the chaplain who carried wounded out of an ambush. Walsh's eyes widened. What story? Sergeant Mitchell kept his gaze on Marcus. With respect, sir, I think people here should know who you are. Marcus shook his head gently. That's not necessary. What happened back then is exactly why you were able to reach this young man today, Mitchell interrupted respectfully. Officer Walsh, in November 2006, Pastor Coleman was with a Marine convoy that got hit by an IED and ambushed. 12 Marines were wounded, pinned down by heavy fire. Medevac couldn't land because of incoming rounds. Walsh listened, his expression shifting from curiosity to awe. Pastor Coleman didn't have to go out there, Mitchell continued. He was a chaplain, non-combatant. He could have stayed in cover. Instead, he went into that kill zone, on foot, and started carrying wounded Marines back, one at a time. He made 6 trips, 12 men. Maria Santos had finished examining Jason and was listening. 6 trips? Under fire? Heavy fire, Mitchell confirmed. Small arms, RPGs. The Marines laying down cover, but it wasn't much. He kept going back. Carried men twice his size through 100-degree heat while rounds kicked up dust around him. When it was over, he'd saved 12 lives. Marcus looked uncomfortable. The Marines were the ones fighting. I just moved some wounded. That's a chaplain's job. Be where the need is. They gave you the Silver Star, Mitchell said. I saw the citation. Conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity in action against an armed enemy. That's not just doing your job, sir. That's heroism. Jason, sitting on the ambulance being checked over, had been listening. His eyes were fixed on Marcus with something beyond gratitude. Recognition of what it meant that this particular man had chosen to sit with him. You carried wounded Marines, Jason said quietly, while people were shooting at you. Marcus walked over. I did what anyone would do when people they care about are in danger. Not anyone, Jason said. Most people would have stayed in cover. Maybe. But I'd been with those Marines for months. I knew their names, their stories, their families. When you know people that well, you don't leave them behind. Walsh cleared his throat. Pastor Coleman, I owe you an apology. When you said you could help, I dismissed you. I saw a pastor and assumed you wouldn't understand. Marcus smiled gently. You were doing your job, officer. No apology needed. Still, I should have listened. You reached him in 5 minutes when we couldn't in 15. You would have reached him eventually. I just had experience that matched what he needed today. Jason spoke up. Pastor Coleman, That card you gave me. Can I really call you? Anytime? Anytime, Marcus confirmed. 3 in the morning, middle of a panic attack. Whenever. I mean it. And Jason? Veterans meet at my church every Thursday evening. Just coffee, conversation. If you want to come, you'd be welcome. Jason nodded, clutching the card. Maybe I will. As paramedics prepared to transport Jason for psychiatric evaluation, Walsh pulled Marcus aside. Pastor, after everything you went through, after carrying wounded under fire, how did you end up at a small community church? You could have been a senior chaplain, maybe headquarters. Marcus looked at the traffic slowly moving again. After my 3rd tour, I realized something. The war follows you home. It lives in the people who served. I saw that need everywhere, in grocery stores, at traffic lights, in small churches. People struggling with what they'd seen, trying to figure out how to keep living. 3 months later, Marcus was in his church office preparing Sunday's sermon when he heard a knock. Jason Mitchell stood in the doorway, looking healthier. His eyes were clearer, his posture more relaxed. Jason, Marcus said, standing. Come in. It's good to see you. Jason stepped inside, holding a small box. Pastor Coleman, I wanted to thank you. What you did that day, you saved my life. Not just from the accident, but from myself. Marcus gestured to a chair. How are you doing? Better. I started going to the VA, got connected with a therapist. It's hard work, but I'm making progress. Jason paused. And I've been coming to your Thursday group, last 3 weeks. I know, Marcus smiled. I've seen you there. Just showing up is enough. Jason set the box on the desk. This belonged to Staff Sergeant Martinez, the one who didn't make it. His family gave it to me. I want you to have it, for the church. He opened the box to reveal a folded American flag. Martinez would have liked knowing his flag was somewhere it meant something. Marcus looked at the flag, understanding the weight of what Jason was offering. Are you sure? I'm sure. You helped me understand Martinez would want me to live, not just survive. Marcus accepted the flag with both hands. I'll display it with honor. They sat in comfortable silence before Jason spoke. That day in Iraq, when you were carrying those Marines, were you scared? Marcus didn't hesitate. Terrified. Every single trip. Then why did you keep going? Because stopping would have meant living with knowing I could have done more and didn't. Fear is powerful, but regret is worse. Jason nodded. I've been afraid to live. Afraid that if I'm okay, it means I've forgotten Martinez. Moving forward isn't betraying them, Marcus said gently. It's honoring them. They died so you could have a future. Don't waste it by refusing to live. Over the following months, Jason became a regular at the Thursday group. He started bringing other young veterans. The gathering grew from 5 to 15, then 20. Marcus's church became known as a safe place for those struggling with invisible wounds. One Thursday evening, a Marine in dress blues walked in. He was in his 40s, with the bearing of decades in uniform. Pastor Coleman? I'm Colonel James Patterson, 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines, Ramadi. I was one of the wounded you carried in 2006. Marcus studied his face, recognition dawning. Patterson, the leg wound. You kept apologizing for being heavy. Patterson smiled. You told me to shut up and save my energy. Best pastoral advice I ever got. He looked around. I heard about what you're doing here. I wanted to see it. It's not much, Marcus said. Just coffee and conversation. It's everything, Patterson corrected. Do you know what happened to the other 11 you carried? Marcus shook his head. I lost track after I left active duty. I kept track. All 12 survived. We all made it home. Between us, we have 37 children, families, lives that wouldn't exist if you'd stayed in cover. Patterson's voice grew thick. You didn't just save 12 Marines. You saved generations. Marcus was quiet, absorbing this. I just did what needed doing. No, Patterson said firmly. You did what most people wouldn't. And now you're still doing it. Still carrying the wounded. Different battlefield. Same mission. Later, as Marcus locked up, Jason helped straighten chairs. Pastor, Colonel Patterson was right. You're still carrying people. Like you carried me off that highway. Marcus smiled. We all carry each other. That's what we're here for. You carried Martinez in your heart. Now you're carrying his memory forward by living. That's its own kind of strength. As they walked outside, Jason paused. When I first saw you that day, I thought you were just some old pastor who didn't understand. Now I realize you understand better than anyone. What matters is we use what we learn to help others, Marcus said. That's the real mission. It never ends. Jason looked at the small church, its cross illuminated. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for not giving up on yourself, Marcus replied. That took more courage than anything I did in Iraq. As Jason drove away, Marcus stood in the parking lot. No grand cathedral, no prestigious posting. Just a small building where broken people came to heal, where warriors learned to live in peace, where the mission continued, one conversation at a time. If this story moved you, like, share, and subscribe for more stories of quiet masters who prove that true strength is measured not in medals, but in the lives we touch and the people we refuse to leave behind.